Welcome to Local Gov Strategy TV. Today I've got with me Councillor Steve Reid, who is the leader of Lambeth Borough Council. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
Steve, big society, it's a conservative idea, and Lambeth has been traditionally a very Labour borough. What are you doing to develop the big society? Is that something you agree with, and how are you engaging local people?
Okay. Well, actually, I'd put it the other way round. Lambeth came out with our cooperative council proposals several months before David Cameron ever talked about the big society. And the reason for that is I think it's always been at the core of progressive politics that you seek ways to hand power to the people. And that's what we're trying to do. Our insight is that you get better, more responsive public services if the people who use them have more control over how those services are delivered. And you not only get better public services, you get a better value for the resources that you're putting in, but you can also give people back self-reliance where top-down public services have made them over-reliant on the people who are delivering those public services because they're taking decisions for them over large swathes of their own lives. So we're trying to give people power back.
How is Lambeth responding to the fiscal challenges and the decreasing contribution from government towards its coffers?
Well, we're doing what most councils are trying to do. We're trying to prioritise and protect the services that matter most to local people. The cooperative council agenda is part of that. I think if you can get services becoming more responsive effectively and becoming much more effective, doing things residents want rather than things residents don't want, you're using your resources more efficiently, and we need as much efficiency as possible for every penny and every pound that we are spending. So for me, the cooperative agenda is not primarily cuts-led, but it does allow you to become much more efficient whatever level of resources you happen to have available.
How is Lambeth using up-to-date technology, ICT and communications to improve efficiencies?
Well, one thing you can do is lower your transaction costs. So we're trying as much as possible to effect channel shift, get people who have the capacity to do it to interface with the council online, where you're talking a transaction cost of a fraction of a penny sometimes, rather than the much more expensive face-to-face transaction in a customer centre or even by telephone. That can be quite expensive. So we've just put our, you can pay your council tax online, you can renew your parking permits online, shifting as many services as we can in that direction.
That's great for people who are tech savvy or who have a computer. What about those who don't?
Well, for people who are, I think the term is digitally excluded, we need to make sure that they still have the ability to interface with the council in ways that make sense for them. But we're trying to make that easier too and make it cheaper by co-locating more services. Our idea for transforming our libraries is to set them up as trusts, where we give them a budget, but they need a representative trust from the local community that will take ownership of the building, and they will run the service within that building, paying with the budget for professional librarians. But the librarians will do things other than just deal with library books. They'll be trained up as customer access agents, and they will be supported with technology so that if a resident comes in with a parking issue or a housing issue or even a social services issue, they can become the point of contact. So it brings more people into the library, making that building as a facility more cost effective because more people are in there using it, and it's a benefit for the local resident who can come in there and access services more easily. But the idea is by shifting more people onto online transactions, we're lowering our costs across the piece.
If you have your way, what will Lambeth look like by 2020, say, 8 years' time?
What I'm trying to do is get a pattern of public service provision that actually fits our borough. We've already got, in my view, a cooperative community, but the council has too often stood in the way of that developing because we tried to deliver services in a way that is top-down and monolithic. Lambeth's one of the most diverse places in Europe. You can't have one size fits all when you've got 150 different communities living together in a patch of earth that's only 7 miles by 5. The only way that you can meet such a different patchwork of needs is by engaging each of those communities in shaping the services to meet the needs that they themselves have. So Lambeth will stop being a top-down council and will become a council that makes its resources available to its own community with appropriate support to start to identify their own ambitions and then meet them. That for me is what a cooperative council is all about.